Hey everyone, welcome back to another week of building Hogwarts in Lego. Today we've got a little bit of a special update for you guys because we're actually going to be working right back in there, as I had said at the end of last week's video. And what we're going to be working on is actually a recommendation all the way back from week 10 of building Hogwarts, when we were just wrapping up working on this section for the first time and moving towards extending the mock over in that direction. But I had essentially created this area back here, this pool of water, and I had asked a few people down in the comments to suggest what I could potentially do with this. And well, I did get a few recommendations, and this week we are actually going to take one of those up and build it. All right, so here's the area in question, and I'm not going to give it away just yet, but what we're going to do is start by tearing down this rock wall, and we're going to build it out just to over here and be making another interior scene right here. And then in doing so, we're going to have a small bit of river that continues through here instead of it going through this opening and then opening it back up. Just use the word opening twice right there. But we're going to be doing something a little bit exciting, bringing back the time lapses. Hopefully you guys will appreciate that, because it's not always that I'm able to get a scene where I can actually work on time lapse, because a lot of it is quite experimental and it's a lot of back and forth, and it might be just about the most boring thing you'd ever want to watch. But tearing down is pretty fun, and rebuilding is even more fun. So I'm going to stop talking, and we're going to cut to the time lapse, and we're going to get some progress done. Alrighty, well, hopefully you guys have been enjoying the time lapses and they've turned out decently well. I have no idea what they're going to look like, but if you made it this far, that means they were decent. Now, I've kept you in suspense long enough. I'm sure you're wondering why on earth I have got a red squid on the wall. Now, this, in fact, is an allusion to a quest in Hogwarts Legacy called Scrope's Last Hope. It was actually recommended to me by a subscriber, where they suggested that I could make some good use of the space by having this cave scene. And in that quest, which is actually a Slytherin exclusive, so I had to find it on YouTube rather than play it myself, this is actually located somewhere in this general area of the Great Hall. There's like a cave entrance somewhere right there. However, it does fit quite well in this scene. Essentially, it's just a cave where you have to go on a quest, and you come across this mural which has the giant squid from the Black Lake on it, and I believe it moves or something, and you get an artifact from it. But I thought it was just a kind of cool, just little Easter egg that those who have played the game will probably recognize it. It's a very simple scene. I will put a picture of it on screen right now so you guys get an idea of what I'm looking at as inspiration. But really, it's just, I'm gonna have a little bit of pool of water, maybe a little bit of what you might call just like a little beachfront, or sand. And we're just going to slowly take this rockwork up and slope it up to this level. And then, of course, we have the tower itself, which sits roughly right here. Say roughly, it does sit right there. So as I'm building this back up, I'm going to be making sure that I have enough support, especially on the left-hand side for the tower itself. But it's a very simple scene that I really wanted to include, because well, I did ask people and they did give me some pretty good suggestions. I thought this was pretty neat. Going to work on a little entrance right here, and for the rest of it is just simple rock work. So little interior, an entrance here. We've got to do something with the water, especially in this bit where it is obviously green. We'll have to cover that up. And you can see now what this gorge is looking like. It's looking a lot more just interesting because it's not a big pool of water. But I'm going to cut for now, and we're going to get back to you guys once I have a little bit more progress done. So just a quick update over here. We have a little bit of the rock work getting started in this corner over here. I've been trying to use some inverted slopes and such so that I don't have to tear up the rock work down in this corner, only because it's a little bit hard to get to, and also because there's some existing large burnt pieces back there that I just don't want to tear up and redo if I don't have to. So instead of moving the entire rock wall forward, instead I'm just going to have the tower look slightly like it's overhanging, and hopefully you guys can actually see this because I cannot. You can see the inverted slopes that are sticking out to make it look like the tower is hanging above the water. On this side over here, I am not going to continue the rock work just across and finishing up this bit. It's going to transition into some more gradual sloping down to this point down here. This is pretty much going to be the roof level for this area, and it might increase in height ever so slightly as it goes up, but I'm going to basically treat this as a base and then build up from there, and I'll keep you guys posted. So the next step here is that I've plated off the roof and I've started building up some of the rock work. You can see the filler brick going on under here with the castle. As to what's going on in this section over here, I've just placed a bunch of 2x4s and I actually have no idea what I am doing. The only thing I can tell you is that there's yet again another huge flex joint down the middle of the mock. This is because the table is warped from all the weight of this mock and me constantly pressing down on it, not helping matters. But if I had a flat table, it would look like that. And I'm just trying to build up some terrain so that it goes up to here. Because what I typically do is I forget that I want to do that and then end up just kind of making it flat and detailing it and then being like, oh, and having to do some rock work. So I'm trying to make it actually slope up to here. And then I just also noticed that this is dark tan and this is green. So I'm going to have to sort of merge those two colors at some point. So I've been continuing to slowly build up this area with some rocks, interspersing it with a little bit of snot technique. Not that this is particularly complicated, but I thought I was getting a little bit bored with just mounting slopes normally. So I thought I'd try something just a little bit different, see if I can mix in a little bit of that. I've tiled off and plated off this top over here where the tower will eventually be sitting. It's right over here for the moment. And for the rest of this, I'm just going to slowly work my way up. We're nearly there. And then as for this bit down here, I'm undecided as to whether or not I'm going to keep it tan or if I'm going to intersperse it with other colors and such. I'm interested to see what it will look like completed, matching up to this corner first before I decide what to do down here, because I think it might be somewhat interesting to have a different sort of terrain down here than is up there. Here's my first attempt at getting this little terrain change done. If I'm being honest, I'm not the most satisfied with it. I think I could do a lot better job. The rock work looks a little bit choppy, and I'm not exactly sure I like the transition down to this area. But I'm going to keep going with what I have right now because I don't think it's going to affect very much. I'm going to work my way up towards here. You can see that I've already laid out the tiles for where the tower will sit on top of, and it will look somewhat similar to what we have over here, where the curve is sitting on some tiles, and then we'll do some plates coming up to it so it looks pretty organic and you don't really notice it. So I'm going to continue working on the grass over here, and it's going to fade into the dark tiles similar to what we have on that side. So this area is generally just occupied by what would be stone slabs. And then, of course, because I'm not entirely satisfied with this, I might go back and change it at some point later in the video. But if I do it, it's quite a simple thing to get back to. It might even be several weeks from now that I decide to change it. But the idea is it's a fairly accessible area of the mock, so I'm not too concerned with the amount of detail. And then, of course, we have to finish up the interior down here and work a little bit around. But so far, so good. And then I'll, in a little bit, I'll come around the other side and show you guys what this looks like once we have the tower back up on here. You get a good view of what this region now looks like. So here's a look now from the other side, and if you take a glimpse down the back, you can see that little extension, if you will, just peeking through this little gorge right here. Now, of course, we do have the bridge to also build between these two towers, which I honestly completely forgot about until just a few moments ago. So we will have to build that, and the way I'm thinking of doing so is actually by taking apart some of the bricks here and actually building it into this tower, and hopefully we can find one of these bricks that aligns quite well and can go right across to the other building. And that's how we're going to do the bridge. In terms of the tiles out front over here, or the finishing up here, we're just going to quickly finish that off. We have tiled off this middle section. I'll show you the back in a second. But we'll finish off this wall over here and just generally get this looking a little bit more complete than it was before. I'll take you guys around to the back and explain a little bit of what I did over there. So over here I did a little bit more of what we have going on that section. Not quite as many rocks and well, just interesting terrain, if you will, but it does help it out. The tiles are all underneath the tower and it's hanging off just ever so slightly over there, but I'm not too concerned about that. And of course this is what it looks like now, leading down to this section over here. The interior yet to be done. We will finish that later on in the video. We're going to do a little bit on the front over there and then build the bridge and then do this section. All right, so here's the first attempt at making this little bridge in between. The space that I measured in between the two towers is give or take roughly 5 bricks. So we're gonna actually see if this works. What I have here is just 2 1x6 arches just next to each other. And I've put these little panel pieces, if you will, to sort of act as a walkway. So of course this is really way too small to ever be used by a minifigure, so it's really just indicative of a bridge rather than being able to be used as one. And I've just had to put these round bricks over here so that they can go around the curve of this tower, as these bricks are kind of sticking out, so they would be intruding onto some of those panels over there. But it's a very simple design, or that's how it looks like in comparison to the overall tower. We're going to place it back in the mock and see if it works or if it just looks a little bit out of place. So it doesn't line up quite exactly as I was hoping. I thought it would go pretty much at 45 degrees to the other tower, but nonetheless it does just fit. Now I'm not sure if this is illegal in any sense, but it does fit and there's no squeezing going on. You can pretty much fully go around this building. We get down a little bit, see what it looks like. It's not bad. One thing I will say is having this archway kind of just end like that is a little bit weird to me. So I'm going to try to get some essentially pins and stick them into the bottom of the studs. Do something similar to what we have over here by just having a cone piece sticking downwards. We're maybe going to use some cheese slopes, see if that will smooth out that little transition there, make it look a little bit more natural. I will quickly come around the other side. We'll give you guys a view of whether or not that still looks good from here. It's just a very simple connector, and I think it really does the trick. Visually kind of hides a little bit of what's going on in the back there, and I think it's pretty obvious that it's a walkway between the two towers. And with a little bit of work down here, this front elevation is now looking a lot more complete than it did just a while ago. So the tower is now secure. It's got a base underneath it of some rock work. We've got the bridge across, which I just realized I forgot to even play around with that area, so I will be doing that in a bit. And there's that look down the gorge again. Finished off the tiling over here. I did completely run out of the 1x2 tiles that I had been using for the majority of this area in front of the Great Hall and across the bridge and such, so I had to somewhat transition it over here, and I hope it's not too disastrous of an attempt. We are going to now take you to the back over there where I have done the interior for Scrope's Last Hope as well, which is that quest from Hogwarts Legacy, just filling it up with water, so I'll cut to that. So just coming in here, you guys can see that I've very simply just put some translucent blue tiles and a little bit of some dark down plates and tiles as well, just to give it a little bit of an atmosphere down here. It is a very simple scene. Of course, I just wanted to include more as a filler for this space and an Easter egg, a little bit of a nod to the inspiration of this mock. I think it's turned out pretty solid. I'm not sure I quite like the extremely flat roof that doesn't have any sort of, I don't know, any sort of character to it. So I might add a little bit of rock work along the top over here just to break up this straight line that just cuts across. It looks transitions just a bit too harshly over here, so that's also something that needs to be fixed. Just generally speaking, I wouldn't say that this turned out as well as I was expecting, but you know, it's all right for now. All right, so update on the bridge. I couldn't find any of the blue pins that you would need to put on the underside of a brick to actually attach some cheese slopes. So this is what the bridge looks like for right now, and this is exactly what I was going for, and I think it looks great. We're just going to leave it like this for now until I can get a hold of some of those, and I will see if they're even worthwhile trying out, because it might not look any better. So this is the design we're going with right now. As for right here, I have decided that instead of leaving this for several weeks and then coming back to it and saying that it was horrible the first time, I'm just going to fix it now. So the main problem I have is that this is dark tan, and that's pretty decently easy to fix. I've got a 8x8 green plate. I'm going to replace that as my starting point. It might look a little bit weird that there is going to be a green plate and then a dark tan plate. But hopefully that won't be too distracting, because you can see that it changes there anyway, so it's not a huge deal. And then I also don't like this pretty big exposed area of dark tan. I think this needs to gradually come down a little bit more, and I need to less rock work in this section and more just gradually stepping down the plates is, I think, the thing that we're going to go for. So we might leave the rock work just up to this bit and get rid of this row and this row, bring down the green, flooding down into this area, and hopefully that will make it just look a whole lot better. All right, so it's about 10 minutes later or so, and I had to tear up most of this area, but I think you guys would all agree that this looks a lot better. It did take a little bit of work just to figure out what exactly I wanted to do here, and while this isn't necessarily any more complicated, or frankly even just tying into anything that we had before, it wasn't like what we had before was bad. I just think this works a lot better. It looks a little bit more gradual, more natural, and quite like how you can see this exposed rock side over here. Just a gentle kind of rolling green on this side. Take a step back. You can see how this now looks. It kind of ties in very well with that side over there. So it goes down, and you can hardly really even tell that there is a height change here, of course, except for the bricks that are exposed on the side. So far, so good. I quite like how this has turned out. And here's just a look coming from the other side so that you guys can get a better idea of this height change that we have going on over here. It's about 3 or 4 bricks. And if you look across to the other side of the castle, you can see that this side is now pretty much exactly, if not very close, in height with this section over here, which actually helps the castle out quite a lot, in thinking that this area, of course, is higher up, but the entire cliff face would naturally start sliding down to that level, which is what we have going on over here, because of course the viaduct entrance is on higher ground than the rest of the buildings down there, where it's pretty much flat with the base plates. This is about 6 bricks over here and about 12 bricks over here. So this is just helping to sort of smooth out and transition this area of the castle. And there you have it, a little bit more of a focus video this week. We worked on basically making a little extension to what was already a pretty big quad courtyard area, and we were able to include a little Easter egg to Hogwarts Legacy, do a few modifications in order to fit that little bridge in. We have now a pretty good filler for this space back here, and it's transitioning quite well to that side of the castle, and now it feels a little bit more connected and complete. We're now looking at it more as Hogwarts as opposed to this side and this side, because for the longest time this section was almost completely unfinished, whereas this had got some real detail to it. And in the last few weeks, not only have we completely revamped this and completely rebuilt that, but we've now got pretty much a finished terrain as well to go along with it. So Hogwarts is progressing quite fast. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you could give it a like, consider subscribing, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.